Hi guys, Samantha from Jessama Tutorials here, and today I'm going to be showing you how to create a pair of earrings using alcohol ink and a Microshift. Now this tutorial was requested on my group a few weeks ago, I believe, and you all were asking whether or not I'd done a tutorial on it before, and I hadn't, so I'm going to be doing it now. So we're going to be doing things a little bit different from the original design. First thing is, for the Microshift I am going to be using a different texture, simply because I don't actually have the texture that I had when I first made the pendant. So I'm going to be using this core roller with these cute leaf patterns. You can use any texture stamp you want, anything that's going to work for your design. So I'm just going to start, actually let's do this way, start from here. And generally just gently burnishing it down with your finger just to get it to stick to the tile a little bit so that it doesn't lift up into your core roller. Helps a lot. Okay, and this is going to create a really pretty Microshift. Okay, and that will work. Now I'm just going to trim away excess in the areas that I don't need. Okay, and keep in mind this is all solid gold, so you can just pop that back into wherever you keep your regular Primo gold. It doesn't really matter, you can just reuse it. And then just use a nice thin flexible blade to shave, and I went a bit deep there, but that's alright. I'm going to try and just shave off the surface like so, and there you can see this is flat over here, but it leaves an image. And just continue shaving until you have eliminated all the raised areas. And if you happen to mess up and cut too deep and end up messing up your image, you can always just roll the clay out again into a nice even sheet and retexture, and then try again. You're not going to be wasting clay in any way. Okay, then when you're done, just pick up all the excess like so and remove that from the area. Make sure you don't have any sitting on your veneer. Okay, then just going to quickly grab a piece of plain printing paper, and we're just going to gently burnish. You're just going to place the paper over the top and then run your fingers over the surface, and this will flatten out your clay. It will remove any raised areas you might have, it will remove indents that you have, and it will just make it look more professional. Just really spend plenty of time just taking care of this. There we go. And that looks quite good. I'm just going to pick that up. And I just want to tilt that around so you can see it is completely flat, but it has this really interesting image now. So now I'm going to run this through on my middle set of my plasma machine. I started out with a 2mm thick sheet before I textured it. Now I'm going to run it out on a 1mm thick setting on my plasma machine. There we go, and it doesn't stretch it out that much, but it's just going to have evened out the sheet so it's all one thickness. Okay, pop that to the side. We'll use that in a minute. Bring over another piece of clay, another piece of gold. This one is a 1mm thick. It needs to be the same thickness as your Microshift is currently. And we're going to apply our alcohol inks to this. So the first thing is going to be to trim away your excess. Because unlike with the Microshift, if you mess this up, your clay is going to be coloured by the alcohol ink, and so you're not going to be able to reuse it as pure gold. Now, any alcohol inks will work. In general, I use the Adirondack line or the Pinata line. These are the two colours that I'm using today from the Pinata line. The reason I'm using Pinata is because I find that their colours are brighter and just more colourful in general, whereas the other line that I mentioned before has a little bit more of an earthy tone. Then I'm just going to bring over an alcohol ink dabber, and I've run out of the little cotton pads that were supplied with this, so I just actually have a sheet of felt that I just cut out little squares from. Okay, and I'm going to start out by opening up each of these away from my clay. Okay, and then we're just going to dot it around like so. There we go. And then we're just going to dab it onto our clay. Okay, and that will be our first layer. I'm just going to quickly blow on that to let it dry. Okay, then I'm going to go in again. And the reason you let that first layer dry is because now your inks aren't going to blend into each other. The next layer is going to be quite obvious above the previous layer, and you're going to get much more blooms. Okay, and I'm not trying to make this pure red. I am trying to remove a fair amount of the gold, but not too much. Okay, now I'm going to quickly blow on that again. Okay, and this is what you're going to be left with. So now it's not going to be completely dry to the touch. You can see that there are still wet areas on there. Now I'm just going to bring over the cutter that we're going to be using for our pair of earrings, and I want to just check something. I want to check if I can fit two on here. Yes, I can. I'm just going to cut it at an angle. There you go. And I'm going to put one to the side. We'll leave it exactly as it is. Now the other one I want to try a little experiment with. So you're going to take some metal foil. So this is foil that's on a mylar backing. So you can see here you have a plain side and a shiny side. The shiny side goes up. And you're going to place it onto the surface. And now if you're wondering where I got this foil from, I sell it on my shop. It's 36 random pieces. And I'll provide a link for that. Now I'm very gently burnishing. I'm not trying to burnish too much because we want it to stick to the wet areas on the alcohol ink. Okay, now it's stuck to a few areas. It hasn't stuck everywhere. You can see here the effect that we have there. Now I'll lift that up and show you how it looks. So that's quite interesting, as you can see there. And actually, surprisingly, it didn't really stick much to the alcohol ink. It more stuck to the raw clay that was coming through the alcohol ink. That doesn't really matter that much. We just have this interesting patched effect. So we're going to make a second pair of earrings that has that effect on it. So quickly just clean this up. Okay, and there we go. All basically cleaned up. Now I'm just going to take a piece of paper. And one thing that I do want to check now is whether I need to make this a little larger or not. I should be able to get two out of this. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to cut this at an angle, like so. And there we go, we should be able to cut two out of there. Okay, so we're going to put one to the side. Okay. And what you're going to do is we're going to very gently lay these onto our tile, press them like so, grab your chosen cutter, cut, lift up, remove, repeat, cut, lift up, remove. That can go back with your gold. Okay. Then just lift it up. Like so. And everything I'm doing here you'll do for the other one. And what I like to do here is I like to just place this down very gently. And then I'll place the next one on top. And the goal is not to let them stick to each other. There we go. The goal is going to be to take a craft knife now. Just start at the top. That up, and now they should join together nicely, like so. Okay, and now the goal here is that the cutter that you used before was one cutter larger than what you're actually going to cut your piece out. So I'll bring over the other one that I'm actually going to be using, so you can see that it fits comfortably here, because if you look at this, where our original cutter was, you can see that this is distorted a bit, which is fine, but that's why I'm saying use one cutter larger than what you intend to make. So then I like to lift those up and put them onto a plain paper backing over here, and just press them together. Okay, and we're going to grab another piece of plain printing paper. And we're going to give this a thorough burnish so that it sticks together well, because we want that seam to be nice and smooth. So the best thing to do is just to sandwich it between two plain pieces of printing paper or wax paper or grease paper, and then just gently burnish along that seam where it will be. Okay, and lift that up. I'm just checking that we have gotten rid of that seam for the most part. One little bit there that's quite right. Okay. Then don't cut them just yet. You want to prepare your backing first. Just lift them up off the piece of paper so they don't stick. And we're going to roll out a piece of gold for our backing. Okay, and here is our backing. So this is about 1/2 millimeter thick. So now we will bring over our other piece over here. Just take these off for a moment. Pop that down over previous piece of printing paper. And just burnish this thoroughly. And this is going to give our backing a nice clean finish. It's also going to stick it down to the paper so that when we do cut again, it's going to hopefully stick to the paper rather than inside our cutter. And take each of these, lay it down, so, and then gently burnish that on. You don't want to burnish too much because you don't want to bevel the edges too much. Okay, and that will have stuck it onto our backing. And you can see if that one's, yeah, that one's not good. Here we go. Then find the right spot and then cut. And press. And you can see it's stuck in our cutter a little bit, so now we'll just take that opportunity to just quickly run our fingers along the edge just to remove any little bits that will be left by the cutter. Okay. Just gently lift that out. Smooth that down. And then I also do like to just gently smooth my edges as well, because that will mean that we don't have to worry about sanding later on. And keep in mind you can't sand the front because you have that alcohol ink on the front. If you sand, you will remove the alcohol ink. Okay, then I'm going to repeat with this one. Okay, and there we go. So there are our two pieces. Now for one last measure, what you can do is you can just take your paper again and just gently burnish them. Don't press too hard, more like just brush over the surface. And this is just going to remove any fingerprints that might have happened, and it's just going to lay them down flat onto that printing paper before we bake them. Okay, Now everything I have done here I'm going to repeat for these two veneers that I have left, and we'll see how these ones look after they are finished baking. Okay, and so here they are out of the oven. Now the first thing that you'll notice is that the alcohol ink has dulled quite a bit. Now that is going to happen whenever you bake the alcohol ink. So the best thing to do, well, you don't have to necessarily touch up if you're okay with the colour. However, if you're unhappy with the colour and would like it to be brighter, your first option is to take the same colours that you had, use a very small brush and just go in and gently tap in a few areas just to bring the colour out again. Another way you could do it is you could use some alcohol ink pens. And I'm just going to test the colour here. Always test the colour before you put it on. So here I'll just find the right colour. Okay, so I've tested out some colours and these ones are probably going to be the best result. Best thing to do is to just go in, and we're not trying to go completely over it. All I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be dotting in with my tool, and it's just going to add a little bit more colour. You're still not going to get something that's quite as bright as your original, but that's just to be expected. Okay, so there you can see that. Now I'm just going to bring over another one, and just be careful not to get it on your gold part over here. You want it just on the alcohol ink pot. Okay, and you can do basically the same thing with your brush, but I find that it's generally easier to do with your alcohol ink pens. So I'm going to do the same with these. This one over here, these ones I'm just going to leave as they are, but this one I want to brighten up. Okay, and that's just going to brighten them up a bit. It's not a huge difference, but it is noticeable, especially once we put the resin on. So now we're going to apply our resin. We don't really need to do any sanding because we made sure that the backs were nice and smooth, and we also then smoothed off the sides. If you want to sand, feel free to do that, but it's not completely necessary. So I'm just going to pop these down. Keep in mind that you cannot sand the top because you'll remove the alcohol ink and in this case the foil. So you can't sand the top, you can only sand the sides and the back. So now I'm going to be using Lisa Pavelka's Magic Gloss resin. And I'll just start off by covering. Okay, so I've used up quite a bit of this bottle, almost time to start a new one. And you'll just add a little bit. There we go. And you can see that will definitely intensify the alcohol ink colour. And this is the one without the touch-up. So in general, the touch-up isn't completely necessary. If you really want a nice bright colour, then by all means do a touch-up. But keep in mind that the resin really is going to enhance that colour again. And also keep in mind that because we put it on the metallic clay, the gold metallic clay, that's also going to create quite a shiny effect. So there, I've put enough on. Now I'm going to do the next one. And now what you do is you put on a small amount. You put on less than you think you're going to need before, rather than putting on as much as you think you're going to need. Because if you put on too much, it's hard to remove. But if you put on too little, you can always just add more. So that's the rule to go by. Now this is the one that had the touch-up. And now you might not notice that difference too much on the camera. But I can see it from here that it's definitely brighter. But again, it's not a completely necessary thing. Now, what I tend to do is I will spread the resin around and I will leave the piece while I do the others, and then I'll come back and see if the resin has pulled away. If it has, then I'll add more, go and check on the rest, and then basically repeat that until I have a nice dough. Now this one I can already see is pulling away because I really did not have a lot of resin on it. This one, however, is taking a bit of time, so I'll finish the others, and then if I need to add more, I'll add more. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to put these into the UV light for about half an hour, just so that they are rock hard. You only have to actually put them in for 15 minutes, but then the thing is you can't really work with them for about at least 5 to 6 hours, because the resin has not completely cured. So I just leave them in the UV light for about half an hour to 20 minutes. Keep in mind though that I would not leave it in any longer than that, because the UV light dulls alcohol ink. If you leave it in any longer, you'll find that your alcohol ink will start to dull. Okay, and so they are out of the UV light, and here is how they look. Now personally I prefer these ones with the little foil accents, because although it's gold, it's a different gold from the metallic clay, so it just adds a little bit of an extra element to the piece. However, you can see this one looks very nice as well. Now that the resin is cured, we now want to decide whether we want them hanging with this the top side or this the top side. And I think I'm probably going to go with the thick side as the top. So all we're going to do is we're just going to take a pin drill, find the middle, press, make a little drill hole so that our drill will sit comfortably in there while we're busy pushing on it, and drill. And that's about it. Very easy. And you'll repeat this with all the others as well. And just clean up the back. There we go. Repeat with the others. Okay. Then the next step is going to be to bring over some jump rings. Okay, and I'll find one that's not open. Just open that up. And let's see if these are large enough. They should be large enough. Just give me a moment to get that through. Okay. And I'm just going to close it on the inside there so that it's stuck there. So hold on, just bear with me for one moment. There we go. Now we have our jump ring, and it's not going to spin because it's a little bit too small for the hole, but at the same time it means that sorry, lost for words here. It means that the jump ring won't spin and reveal the little seam, so it's actually good. We're just going to take our ear wire, apply that. Oops. This bit's always been a bit fiddly for me. And I just want to close it. There we go. Okay. And there we go. Okay, and there we go. All done. So very simple, very easy to create. Again, keep in mind I basically did it the same way as the old version, which included a gold Microshift and red alcohol ink on the side. But keep in mind you can swap out the colours as much as you want. So for instance, you could do a silver Microshift with a bluish purple alcohol ink cover. You could do maybe a copper Microshift with green and brown alcohol ink. And you can swap out the metal leaf, or you can leave out the metal leaf. It's completely up to you. It really is a very versatile design, very versatile bunch of techniques. So if you enjoyed the tutorial, please do let me know in the comments below, and if you would like to support this channel, please do consider becoming a patron. I'll leave a link to that in the description below the video. You get exclusive videos on there for patrons only, more complicated versions than the ones that I show on YouTube, typically over an hour long. and you also get discount codes to my Etsy shop, Jessama design, which I'll also have linked in the description below if you want to go and have a look at the cutters that I supply on there. One of the sets that I sell was the one that I used in this tutorial. I'll have a link down in the description below for that. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments below and I'll try to answer them as quickly as possible. And again, I will see you in the next tutorial. Bye for now!